Good evening, I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show at Christmas time. Mary Kissel, my colleague and co-host, joins me from Jupiter, Florida. Mary's traveled to her home state of Florida for the holidays, but she joins online to begin with because we've got news, late in the day news from the Obama administration that is illustrative of decisions made, observations about the Obama administration these last months. The edict, the administrative state, that's what it was called during the Great Depression, FDR. The administrative state is when the executive branch makes changes or issues statements and judgments without the blessing, the cooperation, or in some instances, even the knowledge of Congress, the administrative state. I begin with the news that coming from Louise Radnofsky of the Wall Street Journal. It's up on the site now if you want to go and check it. That late in the day on Thursday, in response to Senators Warner, Kaine, King, Landrieu, and Shaheen and Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota, the HHS has made a ruling that suddenly now, at the last moment of the registration for the Affordable Care Act to have your health care continue if it's been canceled or to have health care for the new year, the HHS is telling people that you can buy catastrophic health insurance. Catastrophic plans, which heretofore had been ruled illicit, out of order, illegal by regulation of HHS. This is late in the day, and I'll discuss it with Mary, but this is illustrative of other decisions that are being made or indicated by the Obama administration late in the year. And Mary has a piece up at the Wall Street Journal editorial board where she is a member of the editorial board as well as the host of Opinion Journal each day at WSJ.com about the suggestion that there'll be more of these administrative state decisions from the Department of Labor. Mary, a very good evening to you. Thomas Perez, we watched his nomination and confirmation by the United States Senate. Mr. Perez, most recently on MSNBC, telling sob stories about wage earners, especially minimum wage earners and third-generation minimum wage earners. And now we have a new choice to head the wage and hour division at the Department of Labor. You've written about David Weil. What is it about David Weil that suggests to you, Mary, that there'll be more administrative state decisions coming from labor? Good evening to you.
Hi, good evening, John. Yes, I think I may be the only person writing about David Weil who has ever heard of the wage and hour division of the Department of Labor outside of labor lawyers. This is a man who's a Boston University academic. He is very, very close to the labor unions. He hasn't had a single hour of private sector experience or legal training, and the Obama administration has nominated him for this obscure but extremely powerful role, heading this division in which he would control, among other things, minimum wage, overtime pay, and rules about how companies tell their employees what they should be paid and when. He would basically enforce what's called the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is a very, very wide-ranging law, mostly because the law doesn't specifically say what labor can do. It gives very broad powers to whomever holds this office. So here you have a fellow who is on record being not just, I should say, sympathetic to labor unions, because there's nothing wrong with that, but virulently anti-business, and has named particular industries and businesses, including fast food restaurants, janitorial services, hospitality, with no experience in basically the industries that he's going to be overseeing.
The International Franchise Association, which represents 825,000 small businesses, is worried about him. Why, Mary?
Well, they're worried because he's on record saying, I think that these companies and industries, I don't like the way that they pay their workers. He doesn't like, for example, housing contractors, just to give you one example, that use subcontractors or independent contractors. He essentially wants to expand the legal liability of companies that employ third parties. Now, imagine the tort bar's delight when this guy gets into office. It'll be a field day. But the unfortunate result of all of this is that if he does what he says he's going to do, or has indicated what he'll do in these research papers, he will raise the cost of all of these low-margin businesses, including fast food and home builders and franchisees, and he will cost people jobs. So there's really nothing that these businesses can do. The International Franchise Association wrote a strong letter. Republicans have raised strong concerns. But since Harry Reid killed the filibuster on presidential nominations,
he's got the votes to get confirmed for David.
He's got the votes to get him through. So this is what you get when you kill the filibuster. You get people who are fundamentally unfit for the job, who are very extreme, because you don't have to get those 60 votes. You don't have to find somebody who's fit for the job and can moderate.
Mary, does this illustrate the administrative state, that theme that I mentioned from the New Deal, in which Department of Labor, cabinet position, working for the executive, will ignore, bypass, or shrug off Congress and its objections and make decisions that very much affect the economy?
100%. That opening news that you started out with, where the Obama administration has suddenly embraced catastrophic health plans,
which it ruled illegal for the last.
Illegal. I mean, this is basically making it up as you go along. For consumers, this may be a very good thing for people who are desperate to get covered, who liked their catastrophic care plan.
If they know about it, because it's at the last moment of the ability to register for the health care at all.
Yeah, and the really scary part is, what happens if you go onto the site and your data is stolen, or you go onto the site and you register and the federal website sends the wrong information to the insurance companies? I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The real problem is going to come when people get very ill. They go to their doctor or the hospital, and then they find out that they're not covered, or there's some problem with the coverage.
There's new information, Mary, also on the Wall Street Journal website, to discover that people who have tried to register or have sought information on the healthcare.gov site or the state exchanges are very reluctant to come back and trust the sites at all.
Well, the news of the day, had they not dumped this news about the catastrophic health care plans, was going to be that 53% of uninsured Americans don't like Obamacare. That was the news today before we got this breaking news late in the day about catastrophic care plans. I mean, this is, we can say it as many times as we want, but it is a disaster. This is a disaster. It's a disaster for Americans who liked their plans, wanted to keep it, like their doctors wanted to keep their doctors, for Americans who had affordable plans where they're now going up, Americans who have lost health care plans. And underlining all of this is this very capricious and arbitrary administrative state that is making rules up as they go along.
There are anecdotes about Franklin Roosevelt, this is the 1930s, especially the early 30s, who at breakfast would choose a price for gold that day. This is a period of time when the price of gold was fluctuating because there was, not confiscation, but they were collecting all the gold in the United States. We'd gone off the gold standard momentarily, and the president would just pick a number arbitrarily. He liked odd numbers or irrational numbers. And what I find odd about these decisions, Mary, is that there's no reason to object or write ferociously about the latest decision, because there's going to be another one. They're going to change their minds again.
Well, if you step back from it, the remarkable thing about this whole fiasco is that command and control, top-down economic planning has been thoroughly proven to be a complete, abject, and utter failure. The best kind of economic system that we have found is free market economics, competition, and capitalism. And everything about Obamacare is the antithesis of that. And this vast regulatory state that has huge powers over every corner of our economy is being populated by people who do not believe in competition, in free markets, in the utter fairness of that competition. And that's why I'm writing about people like David Weil, because I think Americans should know, small business owners and big business owners, they're about to get somebody very antithetical to their interests.
Mary Kissel of the Wall Street Journal editorial board. Merry Christmas, Mary. I'm John Batchelor. This is The John Batchelor Show.